Welcome to a new edition of NC Sports Weekly News with more water sports action from around the globe. Class 40s in the USA, Patrick O'Connor and Joe Harris on Gryphon Solo 2 win the sensational Atlantic Cup 2014. 3 out of 3 world champion Giancarlo Pedote and Prysmian dominate the tough mini-en-mai. Azzurra is the team to beat at the 52 Super Series. Sebastien Destremau reports on the first European round held in the beautiful Capri. After an 8-year stop, the ASP ladies are once again on the legendary swells at Cloudbreak. The Fiji Proin Tavarua is back. The UK's Blake Aldridge captures the opener of the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series 2014 in Cuba. NC Sports plunge into the action. It was all supposed to come down to fully crewed inshore racing in Newport to resolve the tiebreak, as Gryphon Solo 2 and JeffreyMcFarlane.com fought it out for supremacy around the marks of the Atlantic Cup 2014. This top mixed format event for the Class 40s in the USA once again proved its success with a thriller final, as both teams reached Rhode Island with a leg apiece. Patrick O'Connor and Joe Harris of Gryphon Solo 2 took the endurance win on the 600 nautical miles of Leg 1 from Charleston to New York. Then Jeffrey McFarlane and Jake Arcand on JeffreyMcFarlane.com won the Leg 2 sprint with the 230 miles from the Big Apple to Newport. In the shore regattas with up to 6 crew members on board, it became the last decisive battle. Dragon, also a third strong contender, co-skippered by Michael Hennessy and Rob Windsor, saw their hopes for a comeback vanish. A truly unlucky day one in Newport when they hit the rocks and were forced out of the game. Day 1 of wind speeds in the upper teens, but on day 2 conditions dropped to about 12 knots. Played with Ed Cesare and Ed Cording dominated the inshore racing series, winning 3 of the 5 regattas and securing the last spot on the overall podium. On the final count, Gryphon Solo 2 pulled it off by just 2 points and captured the Atlantic Cup 2014, thanks to better overall placements. The full report with Lucia Metzbauer in the upcoming edition of the NC Sports Buzz. Solo sailor Giancarlo Pedote and Prysmian continue to set the bar in the mini 650 class. The Italian reigning world and French champion in the Proto division bagged his 3rd consecutive series event for the new season with another victory at the classic mini-en-mai regatta in La Trinitaire-sur-Mer. Making good on the winning streak of 2013, Pedote took the lead from the onset.
È stata una regata senza molta tattica, principalmente di velocità.
It was a race without much tactics. Basically, it was about speed and boat handling. We had very strong winds, and then conditions worsened with very short and steep 2-meter waves and gusts that went over 40 knots.
Da oltre 2 metri, le raffiche sono arrivate a oltre 40 nodi.
The race unfolded around the islands off the coast of Brittany with over 500 nautical miles for the single-handed and another 300 for the double-handed division. Navigation began in light winds, but on 2 occasions, gale weather advisories forced the organizers to opt for a course change and avoid the worst. A true rising star on the offshore circuit, Giancarlo is also the host of the successful sailing series CUTV, airing globally on Nautical Channel.
For the last 10 miles, I had pulled everything down and was using only my storm jib. Then I pulled up the mainsail on the last 5. I entered the channel here in La Trinité-sur-Mer, going at 13 knots. with 40 of wind and the boat completely on its side.
Sdraiato sullo spigolo.
This was one tough regatta for these great little offshore racers. Yes, smaller, but on the tech side, no different than their bigger counterparts, the Class 40s and IMOCA 60s. The worst came on days 3 and 4, when the 30-plus knots that later peaked to a harrowing 40-45 swept the fleet, forcing a whole 24 boats out of the race. JB Daramy on Paris-Gourdin Basque Style took second place at this mini on May 2014, while third place honors went to F. Tourienceau on Satanas.
Azzurra's team wins the first round of the European 52 Super Series held in beautiful Capri. You're watching the Sailing Updates Desktop News. Welcome to the office.
The regatta is held in light breezes and the Italians are very often the masters at this difficult game. 2 days without any wind disrupt the competition, but the Italians' consistency hurts the competition. The final races are held in 7 to 10 knots of wind, more than enough to power those exciting TP52s. Tacticians Vasco Vascotto on board Azzurra knows better than anyone else how to get out of jail. Laying third in the penultimate race, Vasco decides to take a different path and manages to finish just behind Ran. Right from the get-go of the final race, Vasco notices a massive wind shift to the right. Azzurra will never look back. She built a comfortable lead in this tricky stretch of water, winning the race and the overall title. Managing a second place, the surprise comes from Vespa, skipped by American Jim Schwartz. Nicely guided by Gavin Brady calling tactics, Vespa is making a sensational first appearance on the European Tour. Finishing only third, Quantum Racing has a somewhat difficult week in Capri. The powerful US team will, without a doubt, learn from their Italian performance they judged rather poor. The next round of the 52 Super Series will take place within a fortnight in Porto Cervo, Sardinia.
Rendezvous next week, same time, same place. Until then, goodbye and fair sailing.
As this NC Sports edition goes to air, the top-ranked women of the ASP World Championship Tour are back in Tavarua for the Fiji Pro. Following an 8-year hiatus, this sensational event in mid-Pacific Ocean returns to the forefront in ladies surfing. A military coup and lack of sponsorship dollars had made it impossible to compete, but now the legendary event at Cloudbreak is finally back. All eyes are, of course, on the 5 at the top for this 5th event of 9 scheduled in 2014 for the ASP-WCT. A big season midterm exam is in the making for Carissa Moore, Sally Fitzgibbons, Tyler Wright, Stephanie Gilmore, and Lakey Peterson, and Fiji could very well be a turning point for the season. Men's ASP action will instead kick off this weekend, and expectations are mounting as the guys will be putting on their top performances on the awesome pipes of Tavarua that last year brought perfect 10s and even perfect 20s. Full results and updates on the next NC Sports Weekly News edition. In a spectacular three-way finish for the opening event of the 2014 Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series, the UK's Blake Aldridge pulled off his first victory on the circuit. 14 of the very best divers on the planet met on the 27-meter platform at Morro Castle in Havana to start out the season in front of an estimated 60,000 enthusiastic fans, and to challenge reigning world champion Artem Silchenko of Russia, who albeit was unable to shine here in the hot Cuban sun. Aldridge came into the competition recovering from back injury but found solace and form in the warm local conditions. Challenged by Mexico's Jonathan Paredes and compatriot Gary Hunt, the 31-year-old worked his way up from 11th place in the early rounds all the way to the very top of the leaderboard. The final was a tricky affair, with Blake taking the win by a very slim 2.65 points difference on the total score of 447.40. Following a superb execution of a flying reverse somersault and a back triple somersault with 3 twists, Aldridge then changed his final back armstand dive to include an extra twist, rising the difficulty level to 6.2. The Cliff Diving World Series is now moving to Fort Worth, Texas for the second weekend of June. Be there with MC Sports. Plunge into the action with MC Sports.